Well, this is different. No doubt. Decided to pick a song that's actually that I'm kind of neutral on, and I would usually call it a guilty pleasure. But, you know, it's not really me criticising any sort of like bad component of it. It's more like there are parts of music that I just don't enjoy. And enough as a track that has like good and bad, it's like very black and white. And you may have heard this artist or band, I don't actually know, I think they're an artist. Maybe similar to Daft Punk, I could be wrong, I haven't done the research. But this track is Red Alert. If you've ever listened to UK radio, you probably know this track. And it's a very interesting track. It's got some like chromatic feel to it and almost microtonal, especially with like the glitchy sort of samples they use in this. And it's kind of crazy. I don't really know many tracks like this. I can't really think of many except one happens to be related, and I'll explain that after. And that came as a surprise to me. But this track is very interesting because it's very clearly using samples, and I like that. But it just makes it a sort of interesting sounding track. Not to mention, one's kind of like funky. It's like a weird sort of electronic funk, I guess I'd call it. And it's very interesting using like a mix of like sat bass and electronic bass in the samples. As again, assuming these are samples. So I could be entirely wrong with that. But it's a very unique mixture, not gonna lie. I haven't quite heard anything like this before. And it's also got some interesting instrumentals, obviously. And the vocals are probably one of the more interesting bits of it. Because it's just like, yeah, like, again, it's a vocalist. Like, no surprise, but it's also very interesting to use this in the mix of an electronic track when usually people try to avoid like cleaner vocals during it. But it somehow works anyway, which I'm surprised about. It's like a mix that shouldn't work, and yet it does, and this is kind of why I have a neutral stance on it, I think. It's just so unusual for a track. Again, I especially like and dislike rather the samples used in this. Very varied this. So it's just like not the usual stuff. Yeah, I can respect it for that too, no doubt. It's just, again, one of these tracks. I think it's like Marmite. I think you either love it or hate it. And being a musician myself and also doing a lot of splicing with my recordings and stuff, it does end up becoming like a thing that I sort of do out of respect sometimes, like when I highlight tracks like this. It's just like the craftsmanship of it, and that's what's so fascinating to me. However, my next fact will blow your mind or your head, and you could say, where's your head at? Because they made that as well. I didn't know that. Same artist made Where's Your Head At? And it's just as famous. It's also a really heavy track as well, I've got to admit. And the music video is pretty fucking crazy for this one too. The Red Alert one was crazy, but this is like crazier. It's also it's creepy in a way. If you've ever actually seen the video, the video for Where's Your Head At involves, I think, someone going through like some sort of therapy thing, but it's like traumatizing because it's like they stick him in a box and surround him with like monkeys with people's faces on. It's like so strange. Like, how do you even come up with this stuff? I gotta say, judging by this music, I'm guessing that nobody was sober during this. Nobody was sober or clean. So, I think that probably explains a lot about it. For these tracks, what they have in common. And also, I think this uses samples as well, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, ain't really got anything else to say. I just think this is fascinating. Interesting when you remember tracks from the radio, and you know, I've pretty much discovered every track I've ever heard on the radio at this point. like from growing up as a kid. This was one of them. It's one of the more strangest songs to come on, and every time, probably you wouldn't mind me sharing the story, but my dad would fucking hate this type of music. Not the Eurobeat or dance stuff like Snap or a Baby D or Robin S, but probably this. This probably would, because it just has a sort of very modern sound to it, and also really ahead of its time. Red Alert, I think, came out in 1999. So yeah, it's very ahead of its. Why am I sweating? Found it. Oh well. Yeah, it came out in 1999, and again, it feels very ahead of its time. It's very unique for what it is, and that also, I believe, is a very commendable thing. It should be obviously kind of celebrated. It's just one of these things. It's a track ahead of its time, a bit like Gorillaz was, I suppose, if I'm not mistaken about that. But also Daft Punk. Daft Punk also set the stage for that sort of stuff too. Sampling and making like cohesive tracks, I guess you could call them. Making them sort of stick together and work. That's like the magic of these. That's why it's just so incredible. Anyway, I don't think I have anything else to add, so I'll go back to watching the TV show, make artwork, and yeah, let's move on. Boy, how? Literally, how? Anyway, I've decided that I'm not paying for Microsoft Office anymore. They keep pushing slop down my throat, and so I'll tell them to take it back. So I'm not paying for Office. Fuck off. It is a piss take, literally, and I'm just so grossed out by the idea. It's just gone too far this time. I feel like, you know, the crashes I have, the not opening my files when I had these things open for a reason. I use them daily and save them daily, and it keeps closing them every time I reset my PC. So it just becomes way too overwhelming from that perspective, and I forgot what I was doing. Oh yeah, let's do it the new thingy for the podcast. Weird mix of English and British in one word. Podcast. That sounds so fucking weird. It's cursed. Please delete. No. I shall not. Anyway, I think with this, yeah, I'm trying LibreOffice because I did say I was looking for alternatives. I decided, you know what, I'm going to go with One-Line U a bit, as I played with a bit. So the LibreOffice, and so I've used it for about, say, 7 hours so far. Yeah, about 7 hours, I'd say. Perhaps a bit less actually. And I've already encountered some problems, which is annoying. Ideally, you shouldn't be encountering any with software like this, especially free software that's actually really well designed. It truthfully is. I could say that. But it's a bit annoying to find that. Not gonna lie. So I've listed some of the issues I've found already, which bother me, and so far there's a few. I'll get through the positives as well. So, toolbar gets in the way on smaller windows. I've noticed this. I basically have a note window open for my TV/movie watching, and I often have it very small, like I guess it's around 600 by 150 pixels on my 1080p screen, and it's it does its job. I'm gonna admit it. Obviously, having it that size, it does the work it's supposed to do, but it has issues and it's really annoying. And the issues it seems to have relate to that toolbar. The toolbar just gets in the way constantly, which is not helpful, because I don't want that. Frankly, it annoys the fuck out of me, and I want it to be gone. You know, Word would automatically hide it, which is one thing in favour of Word there, which is really frustrating because you have so many good opportunities for that. But Seems like they sacrifice accessibility and ease of use for some reason. I'm not sure the reason. That's the only thing. So very weird. I'm not gonna lie, it's a strange design. And then when I've also closed it, I like right click on the toolbar itself and then close it, it comes back. I don't know why it keeps coming back, because it's not supposed to if I've closed it. Again, unless there's like a thing in the software that's inherently like that. So another annoying pile of shite from this, which is not good again. So that's become a problem. And then the drop down list for that on the 1080p screen is invisible and you can't scroll down. What the fuck? Just sounded like a monster there. I probably am one. Who knows? But yeah, it's just awful. I fucking hate that. It shouldn't be that buggy. And even then, the bugs should be at minimum. Like minimal bugs in this. For a bit of software that I just fucking installed. Try to use a bit. It's just so weird. Again, I'm not understanding this. I don't understand why that's a thing. It's just annoying. So that's a bug. And then what else? Next thing I've wrote down. Keeps asking to change the default settings when I reopen documents. I don't exactly understand what it's asking for. Because I've changed it in the Windows settings as best as I could, and you can't even find the ones that they're saying. So I don't know what they're even asking there. So that's a bit confusing, I'm not gonna lie. Again, it shouldn't be a thing. It just seems a bit silly, really. And when that shit happens. So I have no idea. So it's weird. And what's next? Let's see. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, your UI is a bit blurry. That's a weird thing I found with this, actually. Even just staring at it, I'd notice it's blurry compared to everything else. There doesn't seem to be any sharpening on it whatsoever, which is very weird. It's very uncomfortable to look at, too. I don't know what the deal with it is. I can live with it personally, but again, it's a bit jarring because it shows off the bad like pixels and stuff. Even on the 1440p monitors, not just the 1080p. It does happen on the 1440p as well, but just barely. But it's clear on the 1440p, I will say. That's obviously good. Obviously, it's not optimal. It's a fucking problem here. Yeah, that's nothing. And then highlighting large chunks of text seems to be slow on the mouse for some reason. It's like it does it in intervals for whatever reason. Again, I'm not sure. There's a bunch of strange design choices here. Has to be said. Just I don't understand what the point is. Again, this is a Word document thing, and people will have the need to do that to highlight things en masse. I sometimes do, and for some reason it's not well designed here. It just feels lazy and very cheap. I don't know how to describe it exactly. It genuinely feels like a mess to me. So again, I'm not sure. It's strange. What's the next thing? I don't know what I'm doing. It's artwork. God, I'm just gonna have to redesign things. I think this is so complicated. Yeah, that's the other thing. Next thing, pressing Alt Tab for some reason. Yeah, it's easier to mouse. I forgot to mention that. Easier to navigate that scrolling thing, highlighting thing, when you just use Control plus Shift and then arrow keys. It's much easier. Which is good, but also not great because it should have been there to begin with. But whatever. I'm not a designer, so what do I know? I'm just a user, just fucking useless. I say that attitude again. Sometimes it's not always that transparent. Um, so yeah, what's the next thing? Pressing Alt Tab going in the software, for some reason it highlights the sub-commands on menus, I think. I'm not sure what they're actually called, I can't figure out. Like File, Edit, and View, it just highlights that for some reason and makes it a hotkey. I don't understand why. It's extremely fucking annoying when I'm considering I am trying to work on stuff, like go into my notes and figure that out. So again, I'm not sure why that's showing. It feels a bit fucking annoying. This as well. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Very strange design choices here again. I don't know why that's even a thing. It's like they didn't even consider the fact that this could be used for office work professionally, and that's getting in the way. I'm not doing it for office work, obviously. It's not yet, but it's still an issue, and it's still one that bothers me. And I think it's one of the ones that actually made me sort of stop using it to begin with, because it's such a big issue. I'm trying to edit a fucking document here, and it keeps asking me, telling me, showing me rather, the fucking menu. I don't want the menu. I'll type in a document, trying to make my shit in there, and you're getting in the way. And there's no way to disable it as far as I'm aware. Can't find anything in the search. Can't find any sort of solutions in the shortcuts on the menu. Again, it's sort of flawed. Like, you can't do anything with that. It's extremely fucking annoying, because that shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, again, I don't understand that. It's very silly shit. It's just so stupid. What's the next thing? So yeah, that's about it for the annoying things, but there's positives. It seems more responsive when I'm typing compared to Word. In Word it takes like a few seconds for it to like update for some reason. Here it's like instant, which is weird because I would have thought Word would have performed better in that, but no. It performs better here, which is very unusual. Even though I've got better RAM when I last used this, I don't know if that impacts it. Probably does, but even then, it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it is. It's literally responsive and it auto spell checks as well like, as you're going along, which is kind of insane. So there's also that going for it, which I also find pretty crazy, in my opinion. And what else is there positives? Happy to see in my Final Fantasy 14 to-do list, images remain. I've obviously put into Microsoft Word, which I was kind of worried about because I didn't consider it before, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, wait, that's really good. That means if I open up my like class setup and stuff, and also other images I've got in Word documents and even the spreadsheets, because it's worth mentioning over that as well, part of the Office suite, then that's still going to be there, which is great. There's no more fucking fussing about that shit now. It's just good. And I think that's obviously commendable. There's not many softwares that take that consideration. Just tell you to get the images back. Just good, because, yeah, you don't have to here. No need to take them back or anything, copy them over. Already there. But it's worth noting I did open, rather save a lot of documents as ODT simply because I didn't feel safe with doing docx because I knew at some point I might need to cancel. I planned this years ago. That's a fucking crazy thing. I did this years ago. And that's what's so nuts about this. Like, I thought that far ahead, it's insane to think about. Yeah, I did that. Sure, good choice on my part, and that means it's then accessible via LibreOffice, LibreWriter obviously in this case. Yeah, it's fucking insane. Feel my IQ expanding. And then pleasuring itself very dirtily in details you can't know about. Anyway, next thing. It keeps my comments. That's an interesting thing I noticed because I have comments on one of my documents and I don't really use them often, but I use it to sort of explain some things that might need explaining. and it still remains. What the fuck? They actually thought of it. There's, again, like crazy things to think about there. You don't expect that sort of level of care and whatever you call it. No interest. No, but yeah, again, it's good. I can't fault that, that's extremely good. So that's my appreciation there for this sort of stuff. And then next, there is. But yeah, in the settings, I checked this auto recovery, which is good. I was a bit worried that there wasn't going to be any, because I was like, it's the only thing I missed with Word. It's going to be the auto recovery, it's going to be well, the opening stuff, although it didn't do it well, that's another issue. That'll be the real test, but auto recovery was good on Word for the most part, even though it's shit actually. It's a good thing to have, either way, because it could mean that you save things that it saves things rather that you didn't save before. Even though I am always saving, technically speaking. Yeah, it's just good things there, not gonna lie. So having auto recovery and stuff, and it has option to save the document, that's important to know. But I'd rather do like auto recovery because you never know. If you don't save, it's fine, but at the same time, it might have something better. If you burping for some reason without burping. Yeah, shit like that. So yeah, it's one of the issues with Boyle as well. I kept closing things I had previously opened for a reason. I'm just like, oh, you have this open, you never used it. I did use it, fucking idiot. It's open for a reason. So yeah, hopefully it doesn't do that in LibreOffice. We'll wait and see when my PC decides kaput. As it doesn't have power anymore, and then just, just stops working. I don't know why it does that. I had to revamp my video drivers recently because of a weird lag issue that video has in the recent ones, and it's still there. It's been there for a while now. But whatever they've done to it, it's completely fucked it. Makes them unusable and shit. But yeah, it's an interesting thing to look into though with this performance aspect. Because I'm very curious, because one of the issues with it before that I recall was the performance. And the performance was mainly an issue because it was laggy, I think, and it also crashed every now and then. I imagine it won't do that now with better hardware. This was back when I had a very crappy system. I'm talking like an i7 5400, no, i5 5400, that's about right, yeah. And a GTX 970, and I think it was only like 16 gigabytes of RAM, maybe 4, maybe 8 actually. Just interesting to look back on, now I think about it. That wasn't enough. Huh. Okay. Very interesting. That system is still alive today, I've just given it to someone else who could actually use it. Does use it, I think, as well. It still works. The motherboard is like 2-3 years old, I think, at the time that I gave it away. GPU is much older, but that's not as a priority thing. Obviously, it won't be used as much, so yeah, it's not a main issue. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just saying, I'm trying LibreOffice. I'm going to see what it's like, obviously, and hopefully it works out, because this would be great to have as an alternative, one that I could vouch for, and hopefully in the future I may be able to find extensions that could actually help it out and make it a bit more relative to my workflow and stuff. Yeah, things to figure out and things to experiment with. I'm gonna try gay kissing it next, and then we'll see. I kissed a gay writer. What? Sure, that actually works. Actually, we'll see what happens. So yeah, let's move on. So, interesting video came up earlier. It's from Spectre Sound Studios. I don't usually watch this channel because I do think they are kind of an unpopular channel. They're kind of like brutally honest, but in a bad way. Kind of in the way that I disagree with sometimes, I think. I could be wrong, I could have misinterpreted some stuff in the past. They're typically a music channel. I think they review gear and stuff, and then make some like almost like Linus Tech Tip style videos. I think they're not to that extent, obviously, but whatever. But anyway, there's a recent video about trying to escape from Windows, which I thought was interesting given this is a music channel. If, as far as I'm aware, it's a music channel. Sound channel. Oh, never thought of that. And I was just curious, because I wondered what this is going to be about, and it turns out it was about exactly what I thought it was. Basically, the main guy, I forgot his name, trying to get away from Windows because of AI slop and enshittification. And yeah, it's a completely reasonable sort of thing to do. It's not anything new or shocking. A lot of people are trying that. But it does reflect a lot of the nightmares and questions I had about essentially moving to Linux as an alternative. Like exactly the things I thought would be a problem, which are like music drivers and installing software and programs, VSTs and stuff, and yeah, basically everything is a problem. Even getting the door on there. And I think the call out specifically in this video, if I'm not mistaken, is to do with the fact that most software manufacturers and even hardware don't even offer drivers for Linux, and that creates issues in itself with compatibility. So for example, the Scarlet Focusrite, yeah, that's it, Scarlet Focusrite. Audio interfaces don't even have Linux software, I don't think, according to this video. Which is shit, because I plan on getting one. I plan on getting a Focusrite at some point to obviously use to record, and it seems like you can't even install it, you can't even use it on Linux, which is just, it's so fucking backwards. Like, constantly, they say, go to Linux, it's better for you, and it's like, what do you do about this then? If it's crucial to your workflow and your, like, career, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Again, shit is why it's such a big problem. And users of Linux need to understand that it's not for everyone. People are not going to spend time coding things, especially now, amidst the cost of living crisis, amidst the highest like stress points I think the world has ever experienced. Nobody is going to fucking switch to a piece of software that is a piece of shit. That's simply how it goes. And people who are smart enough do the research before that. Some don't, and then they get sucked into it and they think like, oh, was this the experience, or is this just going to be my first impressions, like first day in hell? And that's why it becomes such an issue. Man, it's so fucking ridiculous. It's crazy to see a channel talking about exactly what I intended to do if I ever got Linux. So, yeah, very controversial, not the video, but just the fucking software itself. Like, what is going on? I don't understand why they have to have all these issues anyway. And someone in the comments did say there's a thing called Wine. I've heard of it, I've researched it as well. Kind of like reverse backwards compatibilities, I think, or Windows stuff. But apparently it's like buggy at times. For this user it wasn't, but I've heard it's quite buggy. It doesn't always work. Which is kind of, again, a reason to avoid it. Again, you get these ridiculous sort of differences in like feedback and understanding. It just gets so out of hand to the point where nobody wants to deal with it. It doesn't surprise me at this point. Again, it feels like very petty and shit, but it's so fucking bad. I don't think anybody wants to deal with this shit. And that's mainly what's gonna push people away from it and stick with Windows until something Windows-like comes along. Not to say Linux doesn't have some good like Windows-likes, but Windows-likes, whatever you call them. The point is, it has to be compatible with people, and if it's not going to work. As I've said before, Linux fanboys are just going to have to understand that. And I'm not even a Windows fanboy, I fucking hate this stuff. it used to be good in the Windows 7 era. Even then, Windows just hasn't been good for the last however many years, like decade. Probably a bit longer actually, because it was like 2013 when they released Windows 8. I remember trying it out. And it was okay. I didn't like it, I didn't hate it. I just didn't see any point in updating it after that. It's like, what? Well, this is just pointless. So it's just weird. So yeah, I didn't exactly understand that shit. Just so many strange design choices and whatever. Yeah, not sure what else to add. I think that's about it for this topic, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I shall move on. You know, when I make an effort to go out, it's often with a very limited range of places to go, and this is kind of the problem with finding somewhere that isn't a fast food place to go when you're vegan, but like I said to myself, just someone who avoids animal products entirely. It's a better way of calling myself vegan, but I prefer that because then nobody can pair me with the group. So yeah, take that. But the one issue that I find with locating a place to eat at is that you can't find an accurate menu for some places. Like, I do a search on the start page, or Google as it used to be. There even used to be a DuckDuckGo, and I look for a local town, see, a local area, and I look for like restaurants and cafes open either midday or evening in this area, and barely anything comes up. In fact, midday openings are quite rare because it's not really typically a good idea because people are working during that time. But some places do open, and they do work. In fact, I think one of the local places that's been here since I've moved, I'm pretty sure they've been open all the time because in the evenings they actually do really well. The same with other parts of the place here. But again, I look up whether they have vegan options, and it's like very few have vegan options. Compared to like the 30, 40 plus restaurants you can have in a tiny place like this, tiny town, versus a like proper town, it's quite a big difference. There's like 80 to like, I think even like 100 different places in a proper town that you can have. And you know, obviously high streets tend to have, or towns, whatever you call them. There's two different names for that, I think. It's like centres or something, I don't know. But like high streets or whatever those other ones are, typically have a lot of restaurants, and that is usually where a lot of the business goes to and comes from. So obviously fast food places would want to be there. There's a weird story in my town actually where a fast food place moved down the road away from it, which is weird. But yeah, this is kind of... I just realised something. There's a place that's closed down here on the high street. Because the high street anyway, I'm not actually sure what it's classified as, but it's a perfect place for McDonald's, and I fucking hate the idea. It'd be so dumb if they actually do that. But then again, it all makes sense in other ways, or at least make it something else. But yeah, as I said, I sort of dread fast food places because I just don't want to support them. Yeah, I get they do tasty food. I can admit that myself, having tried it. But I just don't want anything to do with it. I don't want to support it, I don't want to put my money there, and people need to understand in this day and age, you can't have your cake and eat it, sort of thing. It's the sort of scenario we're in. You want climate change to be addressed, stop eating at McDonald's. You can't have both. Otherwise, you're just causing problems. And even then, making an effort to do things like, for example, the stupid scrap plastic straws thing, which barely even works, by the way. Just bring your own metal straws, that'll solve the problem. But there's even glass straws, I forgot about that. But you know, doing shit like that doesn't do anything for the oceans. It does barely anything compared to avoiding fish, avoiding crustaceans, avoiding ways to support that industry. So if you're taking like a fish supplement, for example, don't take a fucking algae oil supplement instead. It's much better for you. Fucking crazy. This is what I mean by these changes, but the point is I was talking about restaurants. I don't want to support fast food. Even in like a dire situation, I'd rather not support it. Because if there's somewhere local I can go, I might as well go somewhere local. It makes more sense. But on top of that, I have to find and locate these places. And, I used to do a lot of research on this before because I thought, well, it might be worth going to these places. In fact, one of the first ever places I went out, the first time in like 6 or VII years, happened to be like I forgot what it was. It's definitely like an Eastern place. It's not a common one at all. I tried it. They served me, unfortunately, like milk in my vegan milkshake, which was fucking weird. But it was nice. I liked the food, and the food may not have been vegan either, which is annoying. But it's a nice place, and I prefer supporting places like that, even with the mistakes made. Obviously, not understanding it seems. But it's better than supporting McDonald's, better than supporting KFC. It's really a fucking no-brainer. That's why I do it. And also, local places need your money more. Not these fast food chains. For what you could get like one meal at a local place, it will cost you half as much in McDonald's. And you might think, oh, why not just go to McDonald's then if it's cheaper? Because that's how they fucking get you. Just because it's cheaper doesn't mean it's better. Doesn't mean it's ethical either. And a lot of people make this mistake as well, even when it comes to grocery shopping. I'd rather support something like, well, it used to be slave-free, but Tony's Chocolonely, over fucking Cadbury, over anything Unilever or Nestle. I don't even like either of those. In fact, I try to avoid them as much as I can. I've even started to replace my my Hellman's mayo, a vegan mayo, with just North brand one. Because it's just fucking pointless. I hate these companies. I'd rather get a Heinz vegan mayo. Speaking of which, I could do with that. Their garlic mayo is actually not bad. I was surprised by it. I can't vouch for that. But yeah, the vegan garlic mayo from Heinz is actually pretty good. But that's what I mean. I don't want to support shit. And that is far more important to me than anything else I could be doing. And also that one meal for, a local place is struggling to get by. There's only one of one in the country, or maybe it's even like a few chains, so you never know. It could be a small food chain, it could be a small franchise, and it really helps when you support them, because they can then build themselves up, maybe even become bigger. And that's kind of the fucking point with that. It's not going to happen overnight, obviously, and even with business, I think I've seen them close. But the problem is, you do need to support places like that to keep them around, even at your detriment. And it's not even necessarily just like, oh, you need to go there once a week. Go there once a month. Skip the McDonald's, go there. And if they don't offer delivery, then see if they do takeaways, do a collection. It's not a bad thing to just get a takeaway. In fact, I used to do that a lot when I was a kid. We had like a local Chinese place. I miss Chinese. Very tasty stuff. And we had like a Chinese place, and we'd order through the phone, and we'd often like walk up there or drive there to pick up the food. Wait there in the waiting room. Obviously, they have it. Pick up and take it home. Even though you can get deliveries, we often opted for that because it's a bit cheaper, I think. Even then, it's just far better. And also, you're supporting that small Chinese restaurant, so it matters. It has an impact, and where it comes frustrating with the research and why I've basically stopped doing it as big now, doing it as often, I just find I can't locate anywhere. Either they're not listing vegan options and not being transparent, or they don't have a proper menu. I've seen several places say that they've got vegan options and they don't list any. In fact, there's an Indian I want to go to near where I am, but it doesn't say that. It has like conflicting information. It says, oh, we have a vegan options menu, but they don't list it. Like, hello? You're gonna miss a bit of profit for what takes about an hour or so to make? You're gonna miss out all that profit? Like, the fuck? It feels deluded as well, because it sucks, but these places that don't offer those options, I often feel like they should go fuck themselves. I hate to say it. It's a weird, like, stark contrast with that. Literally a juxtaposition, I think, is what it's called. You know, that's what should happen. That's the problem here. Is when that happens, you feel like it's really backwards. It feels like it's going to shit. I want to support places again like that. I really like Indian restaurants that offer a vegan option. Even in name, I've even tried some, and they are good. But I don't have much trust when all they can say is we offer options, but they don't list any. And that to me doesn't inspire much hope because it's not transparent. You know, not listing the ingredients on it either. So how do I know? How do I know you're not offering like food with like ghee and stuff? And ghee is like a core component of Indian food, at least it is in India. Here it can be, but I think they have to be transparent about the allergens. That's important. Even then, there's allergens on most menus because of cross-contamination in the kitchen. So it's really difficult. It's not easy. I certainly think there are things to be ironed out here, but that's what I feel here. When I do my research, I get really annoyed because I can't find any solid evidence. I can't find anything to ease my anxiety and shit. So it just never really works out the way it should. Again, for the places I will be happy to support. Was like, yeah, and I was doing research recently and figured out the same issue. I found a really nice place. It seemed like a really nice place anyway, and then they just don't list any options. It's like, oh, great, thanks. I don't know what a salad implies. Like, are you adding cheese to it? Because a lot of people add cheese to the salads. A lot of restaurants do, actually. But even then, they add oil, they add other bits. Like, I've seen some add, like, meat for some fucking reason. It's not worth taking that risk. You might list the core components of it, but you never know. So you always have to be careful as well. That just adds to that frustration. Creates more problems. So yeah, like researching it's become a pain. And then you've got a site like Happy Cow, which yes, I've heard of and have used. It doesn't fucking work anymore. It's useless. It was easier to search my town and areas surrounding for options than it is to use Happy Cow. Like, makes no fucking sense whatsoever. It's just insane to me. Again, a lot of these places have zero foreplay to them, it seems, and even a website like this, which I'm pretty sure had a controversy a while ago, I can't remember what it was. But places like this, it gets ridiculous. And then when I look for takeaways as well, because I do look for like delivery takeaways to see if there's anything available to me, and I get the same experience. I look up vegan in the filter, maybe it's like, I don't know, like one of those popular apps or sites, and it comes up with barely anything. And it's not often obvious that it is like vegan, for example. I've seen places advertise that they're vegan and then not list any, again, suitable options. They don't tag it, so you don't know what the fuck is and isn't. So it's a lost cause. And that pissed me off so much. Again, places like this need to get their shit together and they need to advertise as well. Like, if you have options, advertise it, for fuck's sake. You're drawing a lot of customers that way. You know, advertise it properly. It's not just like a case of where these places mention it. You can just have one option or two. But literally, you have to show that it is actually suitable for vegans, like per dish. Although don't do it per side, because I keep seeing this shit actually. Some places advertise it for side dishes or add-ons as part of the dish, which is ridiculous, by the way. Like, literally, I've looked through menus before and they've been like, oh, burger. But it's like a steak burger, and I'm not, like, you can't get that vegan, and they'll look closer and it's like, oh, this is just an add-on for like ketchup or something. Like, what the fuck are you doing? That is not suitable for vegans, you fucking idiot. Ketchup is, yes, but the burger is not. There's a difference. They're two separate things. But one is meant to be had as a main dish and one is meant to be had as an extra. Not the same thing again. It's a bit like if I added, I don't know, an extra portion of fries to, say, a burger thing I was having. It's the same situation. It's still vegan, the chips, but the burger is not the same thing. So, it gets ridiculous, as I keep saying. Oh my god, I hate doing research on this. I'm sure others like share my experience. And then, this is the other thing as well. Even supermarkets are getting bad with this and guilty. The best supermarket I've ever browsed for vegan options and vegan filter happens to be Tesco, and I believe Waitrose as well, if I'm not mistaken. But every other fucking site, Asda removed theirs. Morrison's, I think, is one of them. They don't really have one. They do, I think, but it's very hard to find. So you often have to search it. I've risked it before and it's worked out, but it works. But then you've got a thing like Sainsbury's, which gets it wrong. And then you've got another one, I forgot the other one now. Ocado, that's it. Ocado, who gets it fucking wrong. Like, it's a fucking mess out there, and you get these wrong filters because either the product list of mentions in the text description that they have vegan products, or they say it's like not suitable for vegans, and they for some reason mark it as vegan because of their stupid fucking filter system and it's not human. And again, Tesco and Waitrose probably are the best ones for that. They don't list things that aren't exactly suitable for vegans. So you do have this problem again with that. So it becomes a fucking mess. That's just for like deliveries and collections. It's not for like in person, obviously. In person it's a bit easier because you get to view the products out there and you see like, oh, familiar brands, might as well look. And even then you just read the ingredients to see if there's anything in it. Flavourings you tend to avoid because flavouring is not an ingredient. There's a multitude of unnatural ingredients, contrary to its name, natural flavouring. I don't know why that's legal, to be honest. I'd help sue the hell out of fucking places like that for listing flavouring as an ingredient, because I think that's stupid. Even people with allergies and intolerances. And I looked it up as well, like Healthline. This is the other stupid thing about this. The amount of fucking danger this puts up what? The amount of danger that puts people in, I mean. What is natural flavouring ingredients list? And what comes up is a Healthline article. What are natural flavours? According to 2023, natural flavours stem from substances they extract from plant or animal sources. So immediately it's not natural. Like, I wouldn't consider animal a natural source because a lot of animals that we extract these things from are not naturally occurring or sourced. So it's false information. Again, like, I think we need a vegan company to sue them. To sue every company labelling this as a natural flavour when it's not. So that's fucking stupid. So yeah, again, dangerous. But according to them, it's like a list of these natural things, spices, definitely can be. Fruit juice, definitely can be. Vegetables or vegetable juice, again, definitely can be, and it should be listed. Edible yeast, hers, bark, buds, roots, leaves, or plant material. Again, can be. Dairy products included fermented products, no. That's also not natural. It's not even normal to find that in nature, because the only dairy products we are supposed to consume are humans. Human milk. Humans? Well, cannibals, okay. No, but human milk is the only thing we're supposed to consume that is dairy related. Assuming we mean like lactation when we reference dairy. But we know that because, in reality, cow's milk is for cows, for baby cows. So immediately we're off to a bad start here with this definition of what a natural flavouring is. Not to mention, it's milk. So dairy product, what the fuck is it doing in there? And why doesn't it have a fucking allergen on it? Like, am I missing something here? Or do I see something extremely dangerous on this? So you're also fucking people over with intolerances and allergies. Great. Absolute idiots. And then even the people with like beliefs and stuff, so, for example, as we get to the next thing, meat, poultry or seafood. Like, religious beliefs tie into this. Some religions can't eat pork, some religions can't eat fish, some religions don't even eat cows. So we've also got an issue here. And also the way they're killed, too. So it's a big fuck you to anyone who has a religious belief. So it should concern them too. Especially if you're like avoiding animal products, or certain specific animals anyway. So immediately you've got another problem. And then last thing is eggs. Again, it's not naturally occurring. You find them, yes. But do you eat them? No. If you were fucking foragers, or foraging rather, we wouldn't eat them. We wouldn't know what they are. And we only know what they are because people decided to be fucking weird about it. Crack it open and find nothing in it and realise that it's just part of a female hen's life cycle. It's just what they do. And then they're artificially bred, which is the other point, same with meat. Artificially bred to produce more of what they supposedly create. And then also, I didn't even consider this, but they could be byproducts of the evil shit they do in these places. So you've also got the baby cows and baby chicks who are unfortunately killed because they're born male. Like, it is absurd. There's a stupid amount of double standards and hypocrisy here. Dangerous amount. Like, again, I can't stress enough how bad this is. And how much it stresses me out too. Because this shouldn't be allowed to slide. Not at all. It feels fucking ridiculous. Let's go down again. Like, what? It says like what does actually mean. There was actually a description of manufacturers can obtain these flavours by heating or roasting the animal or plant material. Again, that's not natural. The fact we've grinding them down. So again, these are complete oxymorons. Additionally, manufacturers are increasingly utilising enzymes to extract flavour compounds from plant sources, hereby helping meet the demand for natural flavours. Again, it's not a natural flavour. Whether it's an enzyme or an extract, it's not a natural flavour because what you're doing is extracting something from it, again, creating something that's not natural. You don't know what can be natural? Picking berries off a fucking bush. Yeah, those are naturally occurring. That's often why I hate the term natural when it comes to this shit. Medicines aren't natural. Herbal remedies aren't technically natural. And maybe it's like, is it semantics when you like debate this sort of thing? But let's give the benefit of the doubt. Like, okay, we can't naturally find these because obviously it's not viable. It's not efficient. So if we call it natural, what then dictates the natural element of this? And the natural element would be how sort of close to nature it is. Hence, natural. So ideally we should be seeing something like, I don't know if it's like organic maybe, even that's not great apparently. But we should be looking at that as a natural flavour. But again, I debate why even have this to begin with. It doesn't tell you what's in it. And for people who don't exactly know what's in their food and what might be causing issues, it's a deal breaker. As someone with Crohn's disease, there can be triggers for this sort of thing. They do create issues for you. So it's not optimal to have this shit. Just more reason to get rid of this crappy system. So yeah, natural flavours are meant to enhance flavour, not necessarily contribute to nutritional value of food or beverage. These flavourings are extremely common in foods and beverages. They shouldn't be. It's stupid. So research has shown that when natural appears on food packaging, people tend to form positive opinions and the product, including its perceived healthiness. It's like whitewashing, isn't it? Or is it greenwashing? I don't know. It's one of them. But they're doing something there to manipulate people. Again, saying it's a natural flavour doesn't mean it is. Like meat, for example, contains antibiotics because they use those in factory farms to essentially fight off infections whilst the animals are growing and even producing stuff. So you're consuming antibiotics. So is that a natural flavour too? I'd start to question that. That's a bit stupid. However, since the FDA hasn't officially defined this term, it can describe almost any type of food. Yikes. Again, that's not good. Like, again, it could be antibiotics that they're calling a natural flavour. Running that to a fucking whatever it is. Doesn't mean it's natural. Doesn't mean it's a flavour either. Yeah, it says in this case of a natural flavour, the original source must be a plant or animal. By contrast, the original source of an artificial flavour is a synthetic chemical. Importantly, all flavours contain chemicals, whether they are natural or artificial. In fact, every substance in the world, including water, consists of chemicals. Flavours are a complex mixture created by specially trained food chemists known as flavourists. God, they have a term for it. However, members of the Flavour and Extract Manufacturers Association, a trade group that evaluates the safety of food additives in the United States, receives criticism from nutrition experts and public health. It's just not disclosing safety data on natural flavours. Yeah, exactly what I've been saying. In most cases, natural flavours are safe for human consumption when present in processed foods. However, given the number of chemicals that may be a part of the natural flavour mixture, adverse reactions may be possible. For people who have food allergies or follow special diets, it's very important to investigate what substance the natural flavour contains. If you have allergies and want to dine out, ask for an ingredients list. Although restaurants aren't legally required to provide the information, many do so to attract and retain customers. Again, that's like major yikes. It's like a transparency issue. Like, so what if KFC says, "Oh, here's our secret herbs and spices"? Like, people have a reason for wanting to know this information, for wanting it out there, and I think it's ridiculous that again it's kept hidden. I just don't understand the logic here. Just shit like this needs to stop, obviously. Yeah, like, as I said, the people who criticise the group, the health experts who criticise Flavour and Extract Manufacturers Association, again, it's a lack of transparency. You never know what you could be consuming. Like, for example, I have to mention this, grapefruit. Apparently it has effects on medication. And I only knew this because I was on mirtazapine. Mirtazapine worked okay. I was also on quetiapine as well. But if you had grapefruit whilst you're on that, apparently it can have adverse effects even in the tiniest amounts. Health risk is what you call natural flavourings. And again, I think they're liable to be sued. Anyone using it should be sued. Because I think it's a ridiculous fucking notion that they can get away with this shit. I'm gonna make a post on FFXIV about it because I think it's interesting. But again, lack of transparency. But yeah, like Healthline here says, the original source of natural fluids, I've already mentioned that. Other natural flavours can be highly processed and contain many chemical additives. As in fact, in some cases natural flavours aren't much different from artificial flavours in terms of chemical composition and health effects, as your wife said. And also you lose nutritional value when you grind things to a pulp. I learned that through someone I met actually on a vegan Discord. There's a very interesting bit of information about health that I didn't even know. So yeah, like ultra processed foods are ones where it's like ground to powder, and the more ground to powder it is, the less healthier it is. Also, the more cooked it is, it can be a bit unhealthy as well. That's kind of the thinking. Again, there's so much danger around these pots, it seems. Ridiculous and what feels like an unnecessary amount. Yeah, again, it's stupid. Anyway, let's continue. For health and safety standpoint, try focusing on fresh or frozen whole foods whenever possible. Food manufacturers are only required to list flavours of ingredients list, not to reveal the original sources or chemical mixtures of their savors. To determine the origin of natural flavours in a food product and identify the chemicals they contain, you can contact the food company directly by phone or email, ask them. The term natural has no artificial definition of flavour source from genetically modified crops can also be natural. And yeah, we use GMOs a lot of the time, I think, or GMCs, whatever you call them. I'm pretty sure it's GMO. I can't remember. What was that? Genetically modified organic? I don't know actually what it stands for now. Yeah, that's about it for the article. I'm not really interested in the other stuff. Again, this is stupid. This all contributes to the issue here. I mean, it's just stupidity of humanity without transparency. It leads to people, it leads to eroding of trust. And so, are you really surprised when this shit happens? Like, it's fucking absurd. Again. So, I just hope that something changes here. Obviously, we see differences of this. Yeah, things change with that. All this. Again, big fucking issues. Yeah. Anyway, I'll move on to my first goal. So, oh, this is an unexpected drama, I suppose. I didn't expect to be talking about this sort of thing, but sure, it's the first time I've ever talked about it in this podcast, I think. There's been a controversy in the Final Fantasy XIV Fanfest at Berlin, and it was during the Glamour to Life for cosplayers ran. And you might think that, oh, well, it's probably the same old shit, isn't it? Yeah, a couple, well, butt slaps, probably. But no, it's not that, luckily, but I would say these other issues are somewhat problematic. And I read this, like, post here by a user called, sorry if I sneeze, Piamio Moko. Okay, I said it and reversed sneeze. So they listed a bunch of issues with the whole cosplayer setup, and I didn't even know this was happening. Apparently, it's been happening for years, according to other cosplayers at these fanfests. But this is just bad, and they should give advice for this anyway, if this is such a big issue. But to list off the things, terrible backstage wall set up where they mentioned there was basically no air circulation. It was a very hot place to be in, air stifling. Someone tried to open the door, but it's an emergency exit, so there was zero air circulation as a result. So yeah, it's just disaster. Like what needs to be said, and especially if you've ever cosplayed, I haven't, to be clear. But I imagine it's very warm. It's like almost the middle of summer, I think. Was it? Are we near the end? I can't remember now. I'm a dum-dum. But we're somewhere in somewhere anyway. And this happening is just unacceptable. And especially the day that was happening, I remember I actually think I had my portable air. So it's still like a massive issue here. It's ridiculous. Shouldn't be having this, not to mention it's a safety hazard as well. To have so much hot air, and then the staff also have to realise the idiots who decided to stop them, because I will call them out. I think this is stupid. But obviously these people needed air. That's why they fucking opened the exit. It is an emergency. And if someone had like a heat stroke or passed out, you're in big trouble. And obviously you're liable to be sued, the staff and Square Enix alike. So they're responsible for this, and maybe the venue itself. Again, assuming this is like something that's hosted in a hallway. So obviously you don't just randomly make a venue out of thin air. Yeah, stupid. But the second issue, no basic amenities. Right. There are no chairs or seating areas for cosplayers. They have to stand all the way as 0 drink stands. And yeah, basically a big problem, especially with like people who have heavy outfits. There's even a cosplayer doing the Alexander cosplay, like somehow. They actually pulled it off really well. It's crazy. But for people like that, there's no seating and no drinks here apparently, which is weird. And I'm assuming that at least most people are bringing in drinks, but you know, if they're not allowing that, then that's an issue. Obviously, people should be able to bring their own drinks because that's a preferential thing. But again, no drinks being offered there is just shit. It feels like it's lazily done, and you feel like you're not valued as a person. So it just feels bad. And then no chairs, obviously, it's bad. And I mentioned there that they were standing for about an hour and a half. Literally just doing this, waiting for their turn to obviously go out and do the cosplay. So I saw a bit of it and it was very impressive. I didn't watch all of it, to be fair. Not really my sort of thing. That's, yeah, a weird thing about me. This is porn. That's a different story. Anyway, third issue, no photo wall, no official photos, and no group picture. I find this extremely weird too. Because it would have been such a memorable moment, even with that bad shit happening, but maybe they knew it was bad, so they didn't bother. Apparently they had no photographer for this either, so everyone's resorted to obviously screen capping the moments in the live stream. So that is a very weird experience. Like, again, I can't imagine not being there, and also why wouldn't they have a photographer anyway? This is people supporting your game, your franchise, and showing love and respect for it. And yet you don't even have the courtesy to have like high quality photos to show what this is. This is like Fanfest, it's a fan festival. Like, does anything else need to be said? By virtue of it being a fan festival, you should have treated your fans with love and respect, but here it just doesn't seem that way. A photograph to remember it would be incredible, even as a group photo or even as individual photos. It's something you can always look back on. Yeah, it's permanently a thing. But no, nothing there. So it's a bit shit. And they didn't even do a background wall either. So nothing. It's very bizarre. Then number 4, fourth issue, complete lack of security for belongings. This I find absolutely ridiculous. There's no cloakroom or secure storage area for gear or bags. All they got was one tiny unattended table where everyone dumped their belongings. Anyone could have walked off with stuff. Anyone's stuff. Not to mention rummage through it. Yeah, this is really bad. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets a bit more viral attention, maybe even like most critical reacts to it in some bizarre turn of events. But this is stupid. I think this is one of the most dangerous things, because in this day and age, having something stolen is quite a dangerous thing. We're in a cost of living crisis, and I think every country is experiencing that to some extent. And not everyone is, but for sure a lot of them are. So this just doesn't make sense. It's a bit stupid, really. There should have been someone looking over the belongings. That goes without saying. But security, they have to have had security there, right? Why couldn't they have manoeuvred a security person to the cosplay area and the belongings? But also, you probably need a security person there to make sure the cosplayers are not fucking causing trouble. Like, what is going on here? It seems like a complete lack of professionalism, because yes, even though this is a fan festival and it's supposed to be here out of love and respect for a common thing, I wouldn't, like, take it out. I don't know what to say exactly. Like, basically, there's always been controversies around festivals like this, or even just gatherings. It feels like only last year I remember, actually. What's happening with the shadows in this game? I've never seen anything like this before. What the fuck? What? What is going on? Is my GPU dying? I think this might be why. It's because I was in a weird position. That was weird. Sorry. Yeah, it's a very strange issue to have, though. But you have people who've, like, harassed others at these sort of events. Even, like, sexually harassed. I remember one about some dickhead who was, like, trying to propose to one of these, like, famous streamers, and even tried to get close to her to, like, kiss her or something. It's just extremely fucking weird. There's no consent in that either. This shit happens, and this is why you need security. It has to prevent disaster. I'm assuming there wasn't really any security there given this situation. So, again, very dangerous. Then, the fifth issue, the final one, zero direction and unhelpful local staff. Apparently there's no clear instruction on how the stage routing worked. The local staff had no clue either. They had local crew members for basic information, none could help. And the only one who actually knew what they were doing was a handful of Square Enix organisers who were running around frantically to keep everything from collapsing. So yeah, it's a complete mess. It seems like they didn't put any thought into it, which is bizarre. And this could even be something that starts getting people to turn on the game itself. I think this is a big issue. So I think that there is a lot of problems here. Yeah, like a lot of these issues are just so bizarre. They shouldn't be a thing. Like the security one, especially, I can really get annoyed at. But then the lack of air circulation being an issue, dangerous. Even trying to give like a benefit of the doubt here, but I think staff could have been more helpful for sure. And I also think it was a venue organiser thing problem, rather than the local staff. I think the staff were just there to just give like moral support or something. It genuinely feels like they didn't give much of a shit about what was going on, like for sure. And someone in the comments did say that it should be directed at the venue slash organisers, not Reddit. But this is a big issue anyway, and how do you even contact them anyway? So yeah, it's very weird. And there's another comment here, someone saying something's of the opposite. Most people were waiting near me, asked for chairs and staff had brought some over. There's also backstage toilets, where anyone that needed could have drunk something. No. As far as I know, you're not supposed to drink from toilet sinks, so that doesn't make sense. That's only one thing there. At least 240 entries, many of them groups. Yeah, group photo would have been impossible, true, but could have attempted it. But nice pictures for backgrounds. Event hallway. Stop and take a picture, though granted, anyone with full-on photographers, and also try to change Shadow Master Q. No one look after belongings is communicated well at the vaults rather than reasonable requests just leave bags at the hotel. Was it? I don't know. I was also not a cosplayer, but if that was communicated in advance, then what? Like, some people carry this shit around for a reason. Like, it's like carrying around a handbag. Obviously, I don't do that myself. Yeah, a guy, a non-binary guy, but at the same time, you need somewhere to put things. So I think that's a bit stupid. Someone agreeing, saying that they agree with the plan, lack of a plan there. It's a bit stupid. Yeah, does feel like there are issues here, but this comment didn't address all of them. I think there isn't really much that's valid here, exactly. There's another one from experience. Mentioning capella belongings in a locker or wardrobe. There won't be a lot of space, so only small bags. Okay. Won't any lockers, only the wardrobe, which you have to pay €3 for storage. When I put my bag in there, it's mostly empty for empty so far and then Flavourings. So the lady at the counter was very nice, asked me about Ben and wanted to picture me. Huh. There's a group photo of Soken, but mostly those who are in the first numbers could be seen in the picture, and the quality of the photo is very low. I saw a text off member of the camera. Females a group 1 to 10. Scott direction of staff walking a V formation. There were some sort of markers as well. But who knows what they meant. Yeah, still, it seems like it's badly planned. Either way. So yeah, it's very strange. Apparently someone was in the orders and noticed the cosplayers walking the wrong way, lack of direction. Walking a V formation. That's funny, exit. Really now I'm nervous and that adds to everything, yeah. But it's very weird. Apparently there was water going out, but it went very fast. The staff did try to do something for people with chairs or what mini. Yeah, I wonder what group this one was in though. Because that's the thing in this comment, like what group? Do Control F group. No, not really mentioned. So yeah, this may be kind of a take with a grain of salt comment. Most of the comments reflecting it do mention other group numbers, I think. How older they went in, obviously it depends. I think only if you arrive early or late, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, felt like mentioning this, just felt it was weird, especially for, as beloved of a game as this is, for an event to be this disastrous. It reminds me of like the Barbie event that happened a while ago. Well, obviously this one's, Final Fantasy one's much better, but it's just similar in some ways, I think. There's some similar things there. Imagine there weren't many anemones at the Barbie event. I forgot what it's actually called now. Yeah, anyway, let's move on. I thought this might be fun given I'm in the rhythm of the night. No, I mean TF2. I've been watching a bit of it on YouTube. Sorry about that, that's the hair purifier. Sounds like shit. I don't think it does shit either, which is annoying. I can't really tell what's wrong with it. Don't even know if it's working. To be fair, I don't see much dust around, so it's probably working a bit. Anyway, TF2. There's been a lot of patches, and I played for around 6 years, and then obviously like another year or two after that. So I went on and off with it, and it has some varying results, I guess, in terms of just like what the patches were. But I'm looking at the wiki, and it's not listing all the patches, which I find very weird, because there are patches here which were very sort of, I don't know, iconic, I'm not sure if that's the term, but ones that would change the course of TF2 in different ways. like introducing new weapons. And it's a bit confusing to see that because I think there should have been like listed all these patches. But it's weird, and I don't really have a favourite per se. I think there are some that I preferred over others, and obviously most of the modern ones just get swept under the rug because they're shit. Because it's just workshop stuff. You have like the promotional patches, which are interesting. Didn't really introduce too many interesting things, it's just like kind of a neat thing. Trying to think what else. The Halloween stuff. I sort of remember Scream Fortress somehow, even though I wasn't playing the game at that time. Must have been later. I might have been playing it. That was interesting. Australian Christmas, I think that could be actually the one I'm thinking of. Was it 2011? Mecha update. Summer event. Yeah, there's like quite a few updates and stuff. Like Smithmas was like some of the most interesting stuff, and actually it was Australian Christmas that I remember quite well. This is actually my favourite one because it introduced some of the best items in the game. Also introduced the Group Keep, which I didn't know. Never played it. Yeah, basically brought in the lock and load, which is obviously a really effective weapon against buildings. It wasn't back then, it was just a damage bonus. The Brass Beast, which didn't really have many hindrances. Just had an increased damage. A Buffalo Stake, I remember that. The Warrior Spirit, I remember that. And the Medic had like a medieval kit, like a Crusader's Crossbow and Amputator, which is really cool. And then other weapons, Scout got Candy Cane and Boston Masher. Pirate got Back Scratcher, and Demo Man got Claymore. Heavy got Fist of Steel. Engineer got Jag, and then there were a bunch of very classic hats added at the time. A lot of these are very familiar, they're very nostalgic. Like you got the Flip Jewelry, the Defiant Spartan, Exquisite Rack, Madame Dixie, Pyromancer's Mask, Prince Tavish's Crown, and there's a really ugly one called the Magnificent Mongolian. Buckaroo's Hat, Industrial Festivizer, Blighted Beak, that's a especially expensive, unusual item. What others? Detective Noir, the Party Phantom, also very expensive. Rather Festive Tree, which was shite. Yeah, looking at the patches though, I think it's hard to say what the best one is. Because there was just a lot of good patches back in the day. It really was interesting. Yeah, they did the cast updates as well. And then one of the most like iconic ones was probably Meet a Medic. That was in 2011. And then Pyro as well, that came in 2012. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, but the Pyro update was kind of fun. I'm trying to think what they added. They added new items, which is interesting. Beggar's Bazooka, I remember that. Extremely busted back then. Scorch Shop pretty busted too. Yeah, this is where I introduced the Pyro Vision goggles, which every free-to-play has. They tweaked a bunch of weapons and stuff, yeah. It's super interesting, there's different types of updates, I suppose. I could say some of my least favourites. I think it has to be Gunmetal, because that introduced the... what was it called? The matchmaker thing, I forgot what it's called now. You know, the stuff where you they replaced casual with that, and it did introduce like weapon skins, which has become a real pain in the arse for TF2 because it's just the only revenue thing. And in the past, like, this is depressing. In the past 10 years, it's only ever been workshop items being added to the game. Like, oh, what the fuck? Like Mayflower pack, Screen Fortress pack, Smithers 2016, then going to summer 2019. It's just such a bad track record of updates. Yeah, let's go for the Christmas one again for some reason. Yeah. And they introduced the rarity items as well. It's just extremely annoying. New unusual effects, yeah. Yeah, it's all familiar. So this is 2016. It did have that, didn't it? It did have a fucking rarity stuff as well. Screen Fortress had it. Maybe Flatpack had it, yeah. As I said, it's where it started to take a turn for the worse, I think. It just wasn't great. I'd say one of the weirdest updates was probably the Invasion community update. I remember this quite well, because I played the hell out of it. But it's such a weird patch, because basically it introduced some cool items, admittedly rarity ones as well, which sucked. And it introduced some cool unusual effects, but it was kind of meh in terms of how it was done. Certainly elements of it that weren't great. Yeah, like the maps 2 for Invasion was quite interesting, wasn't great. But Watergate, we are in the beat, is a classic. I gotta remember that patch. It was so weird though. Like nobody knew how to play it, nobody knew how to conquer it either. And it was just a clusterfuck. It was a fairly sized map, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And it's so weird. Some of the skins they introduced were interesting. Like the Bat Saber guy going to the shooting star, like Kappa. Very interesting stuff, and obviously the hats were quite interesting too. I can't remember what my favourite hat was on this, I don't remember. It was easily the weirdest update of them all. It's not normal, I don't think. That came almost exactly after Gun Metal, which is interesting. Me a match, that was when they introduced the matchmaking thing, wasn't it? Introduced some permanent items, also pastime, that was a weird patch as well. I played the hell out of pastime as well, it wasn't great. Yeah, it's just one of those things, you played it because it was there, that's sure. And also stopped in 2016 to play Overwatch and didn't come back for a while. Yes, hard to comment on the best and worst patches. I certainly say like the nostalgic ones probably were the best. Like the Pyro update, definitely one of the best. I do remember that quite well. I think I was too busy playing like Surf and Saxton Hale at the time, as I was usually doing anyway. Didn't really play casual back then. It's quite rare that I did. I just preferred the custom game modes. A lot more like stimulus in them, I find. They're more engaging, and surfing as well had like a niche. It's like you had like a specific pattern you had to do with a mouse and the way you sort of gain speed and stuff. It's very fascinating. Surf was seriously something, and people will probably only know it from CS Source or CS Go. I can't remember now. It probably is CS Go knowing some people. But yeah, they probably updated it. It's super interesting. It's interesting that Battle now typically really was a game. Even like looking at elements of the gameplay, you just see so many funny things. I've been watching Fat Magic, who merely not my favourite TF2er, just because it's a bit edgy at times. And on top of like just being extremely good at the game and crossing that rage bait, I literally think he's hacking sometimes, even watching the gameplay. Because you see that sort of there was a type of hack back in like 2014, 2015, I think. I remember this one, I think Jaxx or something, there's a video on it. It's like a type of aimbot where if your crosshair was in the sights, or had a square over the crosshair, if any enemy was in the sights, it would put your crosshair on them. Automatically, like slowly move it towards it, make it look like a real sort of aim thing, but it's really hard to detect that. I don't know if they've began to detect it, but it is pretty much impossible, and that's what I keep seeing on the Fat Magic. But despite that, though, it's quite funny to see. Yeah, just the amount of raging that people have. I'm not that good at sniper at all. I'm not even good at tracking aim, to be honest. Okay, parts of it, but it's just funny to see people rage, and I did have a few moments like that in TF2. Super interesting stuff. Anyway, let's move on. As some of you plebs may know, I'm watching a Persona 4 playthrough by Crystal. I can't ever say that name. I think it's just Crystal or something like that. But anyway, I'm watching it. I just finished part 2 and I've got some predictions to make. Because I think there are some subtle hints into what the ending might entail. So I'm just going to put them here, just in case, because you never know, I might be right on it. So, I think, obviously it's not worth debating about the Velvet Run stuff, or is it Velvet Run? Basically a place where Thingy is, Gore. I can't remember his name now, and the other lady, Amelia, I can't remember. For some reason my mind's blanking on that. But I think I have some predictions about everything. So I think Nanako might be the killer, just to put it bluntly. And I say that because there are things leading up to that. Her father is constantly like out doing work and is never there for her. So she gets bored. And so she must have created the palaces, I don't know what they're actually called in this game. I call them palaces, but the ones that you get from the TV, and Teddy confirmed as much when he said that entering a TV from a different place puts you in a different area. So, if I was to guess, then literally there must be a way for Nanako to get in there, but I think we've seen that. We saw the MC, I forgot his name, apparently it's you. But you happen to be like sucked into the TV at one point or another. So you literally had an experience in that TV at home. So somehow I think that Nanako, or at least a shadow of her, is killing people. And you also have to remember that you're also watching the news with Nanako. She literally watches the news and says that the weather lady brings the weather, like physically, and that's kind of like really big foreshadowing, I think. Like, it's fucking nuts. Obviously it's like a cute thing, but I think as well it's very likely to be the answer. Like, the reason why the fog comes is because that's when Nanako strikes. And that's probably why she's in this place to begin with, but as for how she gets into the other places, it's probably because she spends a lot of time there. I can't remember if Juness has a TV, I don't even 100% know the relation actually. Well, I know she likes Juness, obviously. She sings the theme tune. But it's also possibly related to that as well. So the places that appear and the people that appear are pretty much her targets. But the other thing that I have to mention is there's also some symbolism and foreshadowing as well. Teddy. Why the fuck would a Teddy be the mascot for this game? Why the fuck would Teddy be horny for some reason? Because Teddy wants companionship. And what do Teddies need? Obviously, they need a person. Like, that's pretty much their role as at least a toy, assuming Teddy is like a toy bear, I don't know what the term is. Or toy boy, that's a different thing. But that's pretty much what it is. I think Nanako is missing that sort of companionship as well. So it is also possible that Teddy sort of represents the symbolism there. Maybe she lost her Teddy somewhere. And that's why she's so sad and stuff, and well, not really sad, but sort of on her own and doing things alone a lot of the time and being responsible. I think that's possibly why. It's because there's no like companionship or childhood. And it's a sort of disturbing in a way. It's kind of nuts. So yeah, I literally think that's one of the theories here. That could be the answer as to who the killer is. I'm trying to think what else there could be. Obviously, there's the detective and his partner. Also, the detective is Nanako's father. I can't remember the name for some reason. But there's something there. I think it is very interesting. I just think this game is kind of fascinating at the moment. It's a bit better than Persona 5, I think. Like, even though Persona 5 certainly had its, I think the term is like spectacle. It's certainly like a thing, really. Like, it's got a vibe to Persona 4. Persona 5 is a bit all over the place, I think. We went from place to place, obviously, and honestly, I prefer the Persona 4 music so far. Just seems a lot better to me, on most things anyway. Yeah, again, I don't exactly know like any other hints in this series, obviously, Persona 4. But I really do think it's somehow related to Nanako. Hence the reason why you're there. It's like destiny brought you together, and maybe there's a shadow that Nanako has. If not a killer, then she has to have a shadow. I think that goes without saying. So I reckon that's also one of the big things there. Although that does put into question, like, because didn't someone want to kill Yukiko? They obviously prevented that or something, somehow, because of like her shadow or something. I can't remember now. Yeah, it's just some interesting things here. I think that the game is going to be quite interesting moving forward, seeing what else comes up. It's a bit easier to be watching it rather than playing it, to be fair. But yeah, it's my prediction. So hopefully we'll see if that is the theory of what is actually happening. Anyway, let's move on. Pray for me or something. Apparently there's warnings that GPU prices are increasing, but I don't know the validity of this claim. But it makes sense given they obviously have like a type of RAM in it anyway, a type of memory. So that is concerning as fuck. Apparently they're going up as far as 40%. Like, these are literally unprecedented times, and I think we are literally going to see a world, thankfully, where computer hardware and phone hardware will be just the same as it was like 10 years ago or so. I think we're literally going backwards in that sense, back to DDR4 RAM, back to probably was it DDR4 GPUs as well? I can't remember what it is now. Maybe in DDR3 RAM, as far back as that. And that's sort of the place we're headed with all these issues here. Man, it sucks so much though, because it really felt like we were just seeing the beginning of a lot of greatness when it came to software development and graphics. It really did feel like we were at the beginning, and now we're at the end. At least until like 2030 or something, they said. My fucking god, it's so stupid as well. And this is a thing, people need to realise that when your jobs are gone, when the world is falling apart, one of the best ways you could probably make money, cheap money as well, not necessarily like extortionate amounts, because that's pretty much impossible. But one of the best ways you could do that is by raiding a fucking data centre. It's such easy money, assuming you can get in there anyway. And it doesn't take a lot to do that anyway. People upload things online about how you can get it. I predict this will happen. show you the workings out of it and the blueprints, show you everything possible to harvest that memory, because it is a valuable resource and people will be willing to commit the crime to do it because it is so fucking scarce anyway. You know, certain gamers will 100% be on board with that. So again, we're heading towards a very dangerous sort of area of this, the world, that we're going to see that shit, and that's what's going to happen. But yeah, like, I hope people realise that, but also just how valuable it is to harvest that. It's so stupid though. It means I'm going to have to change my priorities, so I get paid on 2 separate occasions per month, and it's not as big as it sounds. It's really not big. And I'm going to have to use my end of the month payment to fucking pay for this now. Pay for a computer before it fucking increases in price, and I can no longer afford it. So that sucks. And the reason I'm also getting that hardware is because my current computer feels like it's dying. I'm getting lag spikes as I play this game sometimes. Something new as well, because there's a power cut the other day and that seems to have worsened things. It's just fucking ridiculous. Even though this PC 100% works, it has reliability issues, and that, you know, that is a big sort of kicker when it comes to you might think, oh, why don't you just stick with it then? Because it fucking fails. It's dangerous. And for my sort of stuff, it doesn't really work. And even then, I just find that it's not up to date with a lot of the things it needs to do. It's equipped to do, and again, I can't wait to go back to like Nintendo 64 graphics styles, because that will be a commonplace again. But man, what a shit world we're in at the moment. And, you know, even my mental health issues don't help me, because I just have these moments of like pure and utter panic around things. I literally see people online, like streamers, for some reason obsessing over food, and it's like, God, this is gross as fuck. I don't understand why people are doing that. Like, you don't need these foods. If you're going to McDonald's eating so much fucking meat that you'll make yourself ill and overweight, what are you doing? You're harming the planet. That's what you're fucking doing. I just can't comprehend that. Anyway, let's move on. Yes, I'm aware. I'm gay. But in other news, Palworld is out. I think it looks interesting, but I'm gonna hold my reservations until I can actually play it. If I ever do actually play it. Because I'm busy with Final Fantasy XIV. But judging by the gameplay I've seen so far, it's much like the alpha test, or was it beta test? I can't remember. But they did like a huge test, and it honestly looked good from that perspective as well. But the recent one, obviously its release, 1.0, honestly I'm impressed that they went that far. Admittedly I haven't seen enough gameplay to really make a big judgment, but I wanted to discuss at least the reason why I'm withholding playing it even as like an urgent sort of play thing. So, I suppose the question people might ask is, would I play it, even as like a Pokemon fan? Because, you know, that's like the appeal. Because it is sort of for Pokemon people, but people wanting something a bit more, I guess, edgy and darker, gritty as well, I guess, but not exactly. It's obviously in a different style as well. Like, it's not like it usually is. And also like Pokemon. Because Pokemon is not a survival game, as far as I'm aware. It's survival for Pokemon, I suppose, not yourself. Unless it's Pokemon Legends GA, which I think is actually kind of, your trainer has a sort of health limit. But I find it interesting anyway that this is released to begin with, because I was assuming because of the lawsuits it may not ever release. And then it turns out that Nintendo just fucked up entirely. Yeah, and suing them, and it's not even like the Pokemon company that's suing them, I think it's Nintendo, which is just even dumber. What an idea. Also, something's changed on my AC settings, which is interesting. Hang on. Wait, what if I had it on the wrong settings the whole time? Because it still feels cool. Not massively cool, but cool. Also rich to the healer. I'm not sure to do that in this game. The healer just died to a boulder. I'm not even joking. Just what the fuck. Very interesting stuff. But yeah, as I said, I think it will really be a test, I suppose, to see like where this game goes, if it even updates or anything. I'm very curious about how it'll go with players' opinions and stuff, and maybe skill up over it. I'm not 100% sure. Not sure if this is even his sort of game, because it is a survival game again. But the most appealing aspect for me is probably going to be the pals, if I ever get into it properly. I'm certainly interested in the pals, because that's like the big appeal of Pokemon to begin with. Just the fact that there's so many species, and obviously the whole system in Pokemon is just kind of interesting. So you've got the evolutions, which itself are great, but I just love seeing the creativity. And admittedly, Palworld did sort of steal a lot of ideas, but they're doing the thing that Nintendo were refusing to do, essentially. So I can't really blame them for doing that. Making a PC game where you capture monsters. Like, come on. Nintendo were never going to fucking do that. That's just such an insane thing to say, because they should have just done something like this to begin with. They should have, at least after the Game Boy era, started the franchise in other ways, like even just releasing it to mobile, for example. Like, why the fuck aren't the core games on mobile? I just cannot understand that. It makes so much sense for the core games to be on mobiles, because they are sort of designed that way, and your hardware limitations would be just the thing that changes the graphics, and then the graphics could be going all out. I recall like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail playing pretty well on mobile, even with like lower settings, and looking pretty good too, despite the settings on it. And that's a big deal. And again, the PC releases of things tend to be a lot better, so there's often a bonus if that is even possible. But I'd rather have a Pokemon game on mobile than at the moment having it on the Switch, or Switch 2 in this case. This sort of monopoly ends up fucking over a lot of the user base and makes them just not want to contribute to it. It's been one of my biggest gripes with Pokemon, because it has held it back. If you had a game like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet on PC, you would be fucking eviscerated. Literally, it's one of the most embarrassing things you could ever do for your brand. And I'm surprised people even let Game Freak swing with that. Even though I plan to play that myself. Again, I'm still surprised that there was no bigger outrage about this, or even backlash. Instead, it's just people rolling over saying, oh, it's just a Pokemon game. And it's an embarrassing looking one at that. The same with Legends Arceus, the same with Sword and Shield. It's always looked embarrassing. And because of that, it's always felt held back. And obviously now there's Palworld, where there's actually semi-decent graphics. Don't have to worry about it exactly. It's just a good looking game by default. And it never had the issue to begin with, which itself is already off to a good start. And then obviously incorporating these elements where the pals can just do things they you don't want to do otherwise, it's just, that adds to it. That adds to that sort of niche or specialty, I suppose. It is really one of the big things that sets it apart from Pokemon. And then the darker nature of it as well too, like being able to capture humans, for example, and then forcing them to fight with machine guns and shit. Forcing the pals to fight with machine guns also. I think I'm spitting, right? Spit check. Oh, maybe I'm not. But yeah, it's just so fascinating. And again, I look forward to, if I ever get to try it. Even then, I just kind of want to get into the world and stuff, see what it's like, and if it's accessible as well, which would be a bonus if it is. I haven't seen the reviews yet. I could do a quick look at that, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, I think it is a game that should be like supported if it is good, because we need stuff like this. Pack, Palworld, dingus, and it says 95% overwhelmingly positive overall reviews. That's very interesting because that probably includes early access. So there's some bad parts of that, but recent ones are very positive with 94%. Like, it's kind of crazy to think about. The fact it's doing that well is a good sign. That's extremely good for a game. And the fact it's got that sort of like rate should be a big warning to Nintendo, a big middle finger. Because it is literally holding them back. And the Pokemon Company need to distance themselves from Nintendo, in my opinion. Because that is also holding them back. And they've got all this funding as well, and they need to put it into Game Freak, so everyone's in the wrong here, it seems. Apparently, I can't remember where I saw this, I'm not sure if it's true or whatever. Let's take it with a grain of salt and say it's real. But apparently, the reason that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet looks so bad was because they don't have the resources for it. They don't have the resources to make it look great. They're underfunded, which is bizarre to me because these games make a lot of money. Even the mobile games make more, but that's a different thing. And also, Pokemon Champions being on mobile was a good decision, but don't like the premium nature of it, so probably might never play it. Even though it's kind of tempting at times. But this is what I mean. It's just various reasons. Also, my aircon's not working now. Great. Feels warm. Feels warm, bro. That sucks. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. I had something else written for, what's it called? Palworld thing. I think I was something else anyway. I can't check at the moment because I'm busy dying to mobs. And I'm not going to be able to escape this. Too much damage actually. Surprising how much they do. What's the other thing? So yeah, I have to do research first as well to see how it performs. I have done a bit. It runs on a 9060 XT. I did make sure it was a release day as well. Well, sort of release day anyway. Only like a few days ago. And also made sure as well if it ran on CPU that I plan on getting, and it does. So I'm in luck, I think. Maybe it runs on Steam Deck, I don't think about that. Hopefully it does. So I don't have a Steam Deck, but I'm just thinking, looking out for those people. It'd be great if it does though. So that's just like, this is either what Pokemon refuses to do. It's just fucking dumb. Yeah, we live in a very bizarre world, it seems. One where the Pokemon Company and Nintendo can't really accept things for whatever reason. Very stupidly. Because they're dumb. That goes without saying. What else is I have to see if it's fun too, because again, survival is not my sort of thing. I used to play Minecraft, but that's a different thing, because I used to just focus on the creative aspects. Not just creative game mode, just creating in survival. And I did a lot of things actually. One of the craziest things I ever did was, I think on Ticket server, I made like a solar array factory. I've done it twice actually. I did it once on a public server and once on a private server. Just did crazy shit like that. Literally made a factory and it did work, but it just needed a lot of work on it to make it viable. But solar arrays were incredibly hard to craft and stuff, so it was like a real challenge to make that. Weirdly enough, I could share it with people. That's the benefit of making a factory. But you have to be sort of very skilled in that sort of sense to make it work. And also happy to automatically make it too. There's so many parts to that which are just kind of insane. Um, yeah, that's as far as it goes for like survival games. I don't really recall any others I've played. That's hard to say, unless you count Left 4 Dead. I've sort of played survival in that, but it's not the same. I played like the full survival mode in that, which was really fun. It's a very underrated game mode, and I don't really know why it doesn't get played, even though it's fucking unbalanced. But the fun aspect of it was just seeing the weirdness you could do with like zombies and stuff through just exploiting the prop system. Yeah, there wasn't really anything to that mode. It's just one of those things, I think. Just very niche, and you know, much like a 10v10 in that game. Again, very niche, and it applies to a certain audience. It depends on how meme you like it, I suppose. But yeah, I think that's very interesting. So yeah, I don't know what else to add, to be honest. Pretty much talked about everything, so let's move on. Book. I did something interesting though, just out of necessity, because I encountered a weird issue. And this has happened a few times, to be fair, but it hasn't happened to this extent. Like for like 2 days, this has just been 2 days. It's been a fucking fruit fly issue in my house. I know it's a fruit fly because it's got a very specific size and a specific annoying pattern. It's just that they try to fly around and land on things that are edible, supposedly. And there is fruit that happens to be out. It's not mine. Just have to mention that. But they're not attracted to that, which is extremely bizarre. So I did some research and asked around, and got suggested check the bins basically, and if there's any fruit out. And obviously, no, the fruit is not the problem. So what the fuck is it? Might actually be the fucking like the compost bin, because we actually have one, which is interesting. I don't know where that came from, but we actually have one, and it's inside because it's like a transfer one. It's not really a big thing, but it's very interesting. So that ended up being the first thing I checked, but for some reason it's in my bread box with the teas in. And I only have it in the bread box because there's not really anywhere else efficient to put it. So it sounds weird. But yeah, that is just so weird. I don't exactly know why they're doing that. It's such a weird fucking thing to have. But anyway, I checked the compost bin and they're in there. Literally tons of them just fucking come out. Not like a massive swarm, but enough that they feel a bit freaked out, to be fair. But it's very weird. I've never seen anything like it. So I did the unexpected again, as I seem to surprise people with that, and I managed to empty it. Just keep in mind, I've never really emptied a bin before of any kind. And it's often because of a reluctance to go outside because of my agoraphobia, which I no doubt have. I'm not diagnosed with it, but I'm pretty sure I have it. It's kind of like a scary thing to think about, to go outside. But I did it. I emptied it into the other bin, and it worked. I'm very surprised. It genuinely worked. So that happens. Got rid of the problem, although I'm not sure if I'm supposed to empty it into a composter. I'm not 100% sure, I wasn't told anything about this. So I don't even know if that's the right thing to do, but I had to do it anyway, because it's got fruit in. It's to compost as well. So no idea. But yeah, basically this is like one of my first big achievements in a while, which is stupid to say. People have to remember that I don't really have, I have responsibilities, to be fair. I do a lot of things on my own at the moment, even though I'm technically told that I can't, but I try. That's different. But yeah, essentially, I was able to do that, which is very interesting. And it's definitely one of the biggest things I've done in quite a while, because I don't even recall the last time I did something like this. It is like a big deal because, again, agoraphobia. And my fear of just going outside anyway. I just don't like going out there for reasons, like anxiety, and don't like being looked at. However, I just emptied the bin. It wasn't that difficult. Just opened it up, held it by the bottom, because that's all I could do there, and just emptied that fucker out. But that sort of solved part of the issue, although there's still another one. It seems, I don't exactly know where this is coming from. A bit confused by it. But they seem to be in the bin as well. And this I don't know how to address, because there isn't anything in there. There's no fruit, nothing. So I have no idea. But either way, it's still a big achievement, I think, for me. So it's still like a thing. But yeah, I don't know, I wouldn't say I'm proud of myself, or even just like, pat myself on the back. This is the thing, people will assume that it does things for your mental health, but it doesn't always, and for me, the only thing I can really say is it didn't fill me with an accomplishment. It just really feels like an achievement. It's different to an accomplishment. To accomplish something, you have to overcome a problem, but for me, it's just more like, I just did something that I'd never done before and it worked. Like, sure, that's all I can acknowledge there. Yeah, it's kind of fucked anyway. Like, it's just a world that we're in and how uncomfortable it makes me feel. Even doing something like that, something as trivial as this, apparently, which everyone does as well. Worth noting that. So it's awkward. It's generally awkward when this happens. So yeah, just think that it is kind of fucked. That I don't really have any sort of experience in this, and then I suppose the next big thing for me to do, if I ever get around to it, because the problem is with another housemate, he doesn't like when things get too full. It's so silly. I don't understand it. The recycle bin gets about 25% full, and he's like, empty it. You have to empty it, otherwise I'll tell on you. But it's not even full. Like, I don't fucking get it. I don't know if it's a thing of like people these ages, but as far as I know, from elderly people I know, they're not like this. They're not like this at all. So I don't understand. It seems like a very fucking bizarre issue. I have no idea why it exists. Let's solve the problem here. Yeah, that's strange. And, I don't get the opportunity to do it, and even then, it sort of inventitizes me. Well, incentivizes me not to do it, because I don't have to lift a finger to do something like that. Because he already does it. I don't get the opportunity. So I end up with that fucking stupid situation. Sorry. And it just doesn't help. I'm just constantly annoyed by that. Anyway, let's move on. 8 years later, and they still haven't solved this fucking problem. I find it absolutely ridiculous how, despite the 3DS's popularity and form of popularity, obviously, somehow nobody ever mastered making a way to stream it. Because I've been looking into it recently. I wanted to get my 3DS out to get a reference, because I just wanted to make a bit of artwork, and I wanted to see what my character was like in that, and also see what Pokemon I had, what the save was like. Because I replayed the games twice, all the games on there, X. Forgot what one I got. I think it's a Mega Ruby actually. That I got, and finally Ultrason. So I got those, and it's kind of interesting. I might have lost the games though, I don't know. Yeah, I can't remember which ones I got digitally and which ones I got physically. I'm hoping I got most of them digitally, maybe, because it'd be a bit easier to connect. But I'm going to open it up and I'm going to put a webcam on, and I'll explain why I'm using a webcam instead to record it. and I'll probably find a place to sit it somehow. I haven't figured it out yet. Actually, no, I don't have an idea. Just trying to think. God, I might have something actually. I don't know. Maybe not that. I don't know. It's hard to figure out. But I'll find a way to record it without getting my fingers on it. But it's going to be an interesting thing to explore. Problem is though, I cannot figure out how to get the software on it, and I haven't tried anything, to be clear. But there's a reason why. It's too fucking complicated. Yes, I have a memory card reader. Yes, I know how to navigate settings menus. The problem is, it's asking for more than that. It's asking me to install software, I have no clue what the fuck it does. And I've got what I see in the comments saying that it doesn't work. So immediately I'm thinking, no, not worth the risk, not worth the trouble. So fuck it. I'm not going to do it, and I don't plan on playing it ever again after doing this recording, obviously, and looking at the source work and sources for my artwork. There's just no fucking point. So I don't see a reason to do it, to be honest. It can fuck off, essentially. I just really do not want the trouble of finding a way to stream it to my PC. Even though it'd be easier and more fun to play it that way, to watch it, to look at it, record it and whatnot, it's not worth the trouble. Again, because I haven't mastered it. So there's no point. Again, they fail on this, like spectacularly. So I don't see a point, if that makes sense. And again, 8 years later, they still haven't figured this out. It just makes me question, why is there so many fucking barriers to entry? Because surely this can't be that difficult to figure out how to program a bit of software, especially with AI now, which supposedly does the coding. So people can like make it into whatever they need it to and fix things. But somehow it's not been figured out yet. You know, I tried like 3 different tutorial videos. One was saying to just record it on phone, which is a bit stupid. Because everyone knows that, but the other 2 just not helpful. I forgot what the first one was, but I know the second one was asking you to use a SD card reader and shit. And I remember a method a while ago, back when I was looking to get on screen instead, saying that you needed to go to a website and just screen share or something. Like, just share the website, so I tried it and it didn't work. Which is fucking great. Not exactly what I wanted. In fact, Nintendo decided to go with USB-C on the Switch because Jesus Christ, that'd be a cluster. But then I found out that you can get modded 3DSs to automatically hook up as a capture card to stream to, obviously, your system. Which, again, is ridiculous. Like, what are we doing here? Nintendo didn't have the foresight, it seems, to fucking make this cross-compatible, let alone use a proper thing for it, like the way you just hook up storage and transfer images. Again, it's so ridiculous. I know it's a handheld console first, but how the hell do you expect people to capture footage of it? Like people to advertise your game and play it? It's just baffling. And I think even then there was like a service that allowed you to send in your own 3DS to get it to be modded. And I think that's cool. But again, I feel there's a lot of risk with that. Because what if it doesn't happen? What if it doesn't, what if you got scammed of it? Especially in this day and age, it's more dangerous. So this is again why you need the foresight to go back to those things. And I think at the very least, I think one of the things I'd consider doing now is getting the save data off my thing and actually putting it into an emulator. Because I own the games, so emulating it isn't illegal. I actually own these fucking games, it's not piracy. So that's sort of my only option if I was to go professional with this, but I'd rather go with just showing off the old hardware, because the old hardware is cool. Like the 3DS is actually really well designed, and if I recall, there was like I can't remember if it was DS or the 3DS, but there was something about, I think it was Miyamoto. I can't remember his name now. Sorry, rest in peace. Who wanted it to be designed to fall from a height, from like a 6-foot drop, which is just so fucking cool because every single device these days breaks when it drops from that height. But to have a console that's like this, built like a brick, it seems, designed that way on purpose, is just, that's mind blowing. So again, it's really cool, and I kind of look forward to showing off the technology. I'm not going to show off that, obviously. Don't want to actually break it if it does, because I'm pretty sure I've got a newer model which may not have that. Oh my god, it just feels like a clusterfuck, just with that. Again, I don't understand the reasoning here. It feels absurd to me. Why they just didn't do it properly. Why they just didn't fucking figure this out first to get this working. So it just sucks, to be honest. Yeah, so I don't know what else to add, to be honest. I've pretty much talked about everything I could here, even. I'll check, is my wallpaper engine working? Because recently it's all stopped doing its thing. I think it's working. This is the second monitor. Not a big deal, to be honest, but I like wallpaper engine, it's nice to have every now and then. Just wish there wasn't so much AI slop. The problem is that AI slop produces a lot of opportunity for fucking things, but then again it's got the sheen to it, so I don't exactly like it. So it's hard to tell as well. Yeah. Also, apparently, Wallpaper Engine had a malware issue. I don't think I was affected by it, but good luck getting through my fucking system. God, you'd be fucked. Anyway, I ain't got anything else to add. I just think I'm kind of looking forward to the DS. It's still showing orange for some reason. It's charging. I had to get. I forgot this. Somehow I lost the charger, so I had to get a USB one, which thankfully that exists. I didn't even know there was a charger on the back of the 3DS, like a separate hole for it, because I assumed you had to attach it to a dock every time, but the dock is there for convenience. Because I used to use that fucking dock all the time. But I think the dock actually, I had it, but it lost the plug for it. Yeah, that was it. Because I had the dock, but not the plug. And I just assumed that by getting this online, you know, get the cable and then plug it into the dock. But apparently not. You can do it the other way around. So yeah, I'm very curious to see what's on the 3DS, but at the same time I also sort of dread it. Because I was going through more of an immature time, like 8 years ago. Very unhinged and very sort of... I was naming my Pokemon all sorts of weird shit, and myself as well. Yeah, I thank fuck I didn't want it, because that would have been much worse. I wouldn't have been able to show that. Yeah, there's like a stupidly horny guy back then, and now it's just like, neutral. Yeah, I keep it in my pants and Pornhub, and that's it. Yeah, not really much else. So yeah, I think that's about it. So let's move on. One of the things I keep thinking about, and this is sort of in response to a post I saw on just vegan, or r/vegan, I can't say that properly for some reason, is about why men hate veganism so much, and I made a pretty savage comment, and admittedly it's true, because I've been there myself as well, and I've seen many people like it, but it's often because of just wanting to appear tough. I myself have fell into that trap before. And it's a dangerous trap, because what you don't realise is your toughness just fucking drops when you become like a crybaby snowflake bitch. When you absolutely deny it, even having to change your lifestyle to care about animals, to care about women, care about anyone. And then I do also wonder about the intelligence level of these people, because I think there are very different intelligence levels per everyone who addresses these things. And one of the things that I realise is, how do you actually determine whether someone is telling the truth or essentially is being smart? I thought about this for a long time, and the realisation for me was, it's when people don't say that they're smart, that it's actually usually the case that they are actually pretty smart. There's a weird sort of juxtaposition, I suppose, assuming that's what I way to use the terminology. But it really does feel like that. Do you get that impression from people? Is when they're also less confident in themselves, that it also sort of means that they are better, more reliable. It's weird how that works. But basically, I think the more vulnerable and I wouldn't say fragile someone is, but more like vulnerable in multiple ways than one, I think the smarter they are. And then the more likely they are to have truth on their side. And to be able to come out of it with the correct information. To be able to find everything with truth. But I think that's literally what it is, what it entails. But I also think it's important when, as well, that someone is discussing something or debating something. There isn't this case of like them just discussing it constantly because of reasons. A lot of people actually seem to fake it till they make it, even in a debate, and I think that is quite telling. It genuinely is quite telling of what these people are like. So I think it is a red flag in general. It really does demonstrate the issues here. But it is genuinely a red flag when the discussion is basically them not dropping their position after irrefutable evidence. If they try to argue against the evidence, it's very much, again, in line with like evidence hierarchy. Then yeah, they failed. They've essentially fucked it. They don't actually know what they're talking about. And it goes into that Dunning-Kruger effect thing where admittedly there is a point where I believe this is like creative. Also, I think my chair's going. Which is weird. I've noticed that noise. It's very weird. Like a noise and feeling. Also my nose feels weird. I'm very cold. That's not good. Let's check that. Anyway. But I really do think that. I think this is the kind of problem here. It is a case where people are just faking it till they make it, and that's what this is. That's why I see even just a recent story I saw. Apparently there are Democratic people in the US, and there's no doubt some in the UK as well, but there's mainly some in the US that it's about bigotry, and they absolutely hate trans people, for example, for some reason, and it ends up sort of raising votes. But is it a good trade-off? No, you'd rather these people actually understand trans rights and what obviously trans people are here for, what they exist, why they exist. It's quite shitty, really. This is a problem. We just keep seeing these problems over and over again. But man, it fucking sucks. But when people are like that, I often wonder, what do you know? What gives you the right to decide on someone else's rights if they are, if they're trans? You're not even fucking trans yourself. you don't have a say in it. And I'll take a trans person's word over anyone else's, and given that they are actually trans, because I know there are people who fake it, literally again fake it till you make it, and say, oh, I identify as a woman. I'm gonna tell you now that I should actually not be a woman. Like, it doesn't make sense. And that's what they'll start fucking doing, which is just nuts. And then I have to say, in the opposite sense as well, on a thing that we all pretty much universally disagree on, as in, we just don't like a lot of these things. But you know, if there's someone with a paraphilic disorder, I think, to an extent, they should have the right to influence decisions. And people might hear that and think, well, that's dangerous, isn't it? Like, you got paedophiles in there, you got necrophiles, you got zoophiles as well. It's horrific. And of course, I think people are right to question that. The way I argue here is, or what I argue rather, is trying to reach an understanding of this to determine what's right and wrong here, what we can actually do for them and what we can't, so that they don't go out fucking causing a pain for like these victims, and even then just causing so much trauma. Just, this is a thing. There are uncomfortable truths, but I question what truths people have when it comes to these various topics. It's not a case of, oh, we just universally agree on for no reason, by the way. Nobody actually has a reason. But they universally disagree on, like, paedophiles. Of course, people disagree on paedophilia. We all have that in common. We can actually provide evidence, although not everyone can, I've noticed. It causes trauma, and it really affects the child, even into adulthood, when they can even become predators and stuff. But it's quite a bad situation. And this is why we need to study it. This is the difference between an idiot and a smart person. And it exists even in this sort of topic, in this space. So, yeah, I really don't know what else to add. I think this is the point here. It is the real issue, and it needs addressing, obviously, because I do think they are experiencing a very big stupidity epidemic at the current moment, and we are being absolutely fucked by it. It's just causing us so many issues. Not more than we can even count at this point. Because it's just everywhere. But this is why I bring it up. It's just to educate people, and I could be wrong on this. Again, this is another thing you could tell when someone is trying to be open-minded or good faith, just by the fact that they leave their things open-ended. So they say, like, oh, like I do anyway, but I say something like, okay, I believe this, but I'm willing to be proven wrong. That's the difference. And when you are open to being proven wrong, you can actually say, like, yeah, like if someone provides evidence, you obviously have been proven wrong. If there is good evidence, obviously. And you realise that, yes, that thing now, that rebuttal is now correct. That is the correct thing to believe. Again, there's reasons. I think about racism, for example, how people link that to, well, actually it's like, the ones that they're being racist towards are linked to higher crimes. A lot of people accuse people of colour for being in a higher rate of crime, ignoring the fact that there are causal factors, and they can even like provide studies for it, I'm pretty sure. But the problem is, those studies can be flawed, and there also happens to be causal factors for why there is so much crime in communities where there are people of colour. It very often relates to circumstance, being born in a bad neighbourhood, being born in a sort of bad financial situation. There's so many different factors here, and even then, just getting into the wrong crowds and stuff, wrong friends, and that sort of screws you over for life. I've unfortunately been there myself. Not not anything like stupidly terrible, but it's still bad. But you know, wrong friends literally do fuck up your life. I was lucky in school, but less lucky after school. I sort of dodged a bullet in school. It's kind of weird. Like, even both times actually, both primary and secondary school. That's it. I don't know if we call it high school in the UK. I don't know why we don't call it high school if we haven't. Always weirded me out. Anyway, that's about it. I don't really know what else to add. Just hope people take this on board, and also thanks for listening, I guess. I might as well end the podcast here. Gone on for a while. Do I have any updates? I'm still trying LibreOffice. It's going well. I'm actually kind of surprised. There's still things that annoy me about it. I hate how it doesn't create like an automatic list, which is a feature similar to like bullet points in Microsoft Word. I don't know if I've written anything else. I've written some nice things actually. I think, have I? The alt tab thing is still annoying because it brings up your like menus and stuff. And I like the red save icon showing it's not saved, and I like also there's a bar when it saves, but it's too quick. I can't even see it go. And then there's so I don't remember the word auto scrolling when I type down. Yeah, that's another thing. For some reason, Word stopped typing downwards. I don't know what the deal with that is. Yeah, very weird. It's just stupid. So yeah, I think it's just things to work out right now. And also I'm planning on making a video on my 3DS saves for 3 Pokemon games I've had on it. I did have an Animal Crossing save, but I didn't enjoy Animal Crossing. I don't really have any other games on there. Used to have a DS with Mario Kart on it, but after my dad's friend's kid masturbated and fucking touched it, I was just like, no, not touching that again, ever again. Just gross. Literally, we were in a hostel because for some reason we go there for holidays when we were kids. But he's like a 14-year-old, I'm about 12, I think. I think I've told the story before. We were all sort of fast asleep, but I wasn't. I was struggling to sleep. I think it was too much caffeine. Then I hear this weird, like, squidgy noise. You could probably guess what that is. And then after that, he touched the fucking DS, had the volume up and stuff. And somehow, in a weird turn of events, his dad heard him playing it. It's very weird. I think he was, like, listening in. Very strange, and then he took it away, and it's obviously it's mine. But it's just so fucking weird. I was glad to get my own 3DS eventually. I actually had like a small one. I think I gave that one away actually. I had a like blue 3DS, and eventually gave it away because I just wanted a bigger screen. Because I didn't want to go through the trouble of a capture card or just what's the other thing? You know, getting the whatever it is, the app on it to get that to run. There's no point. But yeah, I like a bigger screen on that. It's nicer. It's also good for travel. I actually opened it up briefly. I can report on that, and it just makes me nostalgic. I genuinely miss it. Genuinely miss the fucking 3DS era. It was something. Even then, Switch is decent, but I wouldn't say it's as good as 3DS. Looking back on it, only the hardware limitations, but yeah, even then, 3DS had to go creative, and it did work, I have to say. Anyway, that's about it. So, thanks for listening. See everyone next time.